Okay, I want to make a quick video going over Warborne. Warborne is launching their first month-long playtest today. A lot of people from Albion are very interested in the game. I'm going to go over what Warborne is, some of the things that makes it unique, some of the things that it's copied from Albion. I'm going to go over some tips, what you should focus on, things that I learned in the first playtest about like what I should have focused on in the first few weeks to get good progress. I'm going to go over some quick tips on general information. So first thing, what is Warborne? Warborne is a combination of Albion Online and Foxhole. Basically, it's got a lot of Albion Online systems like the combat, the ZVZ mechanics, the Destiny board, almost the one-to-one on some of that. But it has also injected into it the Foxhole month-long war system. Basically, there are different factions. These factions will war over control of certain areas, and a lot of the game has a lot more of that frontline fight each other faction versus faction injected into it. There is some solo activities and small group activities, but I would take it more as like early Albion status where you could roam around and gather solo. There are like a form of corrupted dungeons, but the best way I can describe it is it doesn't have as much solo content polished out as Albion does, and it is a bit more focused on larger scale, more like a Foxhole game. A lot of people have questions about whether it's full loot or partial loot. It is partial loot. You drop half of your inventory on death, as well as one equipped item at random. So sometimes your weapons drop, sometimes your boots drop, right? Another interesting mechanic to go over that kind of separates this from, say, like Albion ZVZ scene is in this game, you have sort of like this drifter class system where you choose a drifter that kind of dictates how your class plays. I'll get into the stats of that here in a moment, but an interesting portion of this is you actually get to equip up to 3 loadouts. You start with one, you unlock the second one after like a few days, and then the third one maybe after a week or two. And basically these loadouts can be used back to back. So when you're in a ZVZ or any sort of group fight, or any fight for that matter, when you die, you can choose to then resurrect on your other drifter. You still drop half your inventory and lose an item, but your other drifter has a completely separate set of equipment equipped. You can resurrect as it and immediately start fighting. So you have up to 3 lives in any fight. It does take a lot of planning and like prep to make it happen because you can't use the same items on each drifter, but it's a very interesting mechanic that kind of stretches the fights out in a decent way because the kill time is a little bit lower, I'd say, in this game. So it does kind of add a little bit of an interesting piece that you get to res and continue the fight if you get just like one tapped in ZVZ, right? So I just wanted to mention that. All right. So moving on, a lot of people ask, what should I do when I start the game? This is going to sound really like simple, but the tutorial, right? There is a set of quests on the right side of your screen. It's going to kind of just like reward you with very important currency. Just keep doing those. You don't actually have to stay in the tutorial. Once you move your drifter to mine the thing is usually when I leave, pretty much. You can continue completing the tutorial and the subsequent quests after that once you leave. So don't feel like you're stuck over there hitting the little tutorial mobs. You can leave pretty early, but a good thing to focus on is the thing that's on the right. It'll have you like kill a certain amount of mobs, level up your power level by putting on different equipment. Following that is a pretty good way to just progress pretty quickly in the first few hours, right? Around this time in the game, you're going to have to start making decisions on which drifters to unlock and what equipment to unlock. Something important to mention here is that unlocks are pretty quick at the start and then slow down. Like, for example, you'll unlock a couple pieces of armor and a weapon the first day, maybe 2 pieces, and then suddenly it'll be like a couple days before you get another, right? So you want to make sure that you're not really making any crucial mistakes right off the bat when choosing to unlock different armors or different drifters. And I think one of the common ways that a lot of newer players are going to mess up here is knowing when to choose, say, like a physical based weapon and which drifter to pair that up with, right? Every drifter that you can unlock has weighted stats. Basically, every single one has a stat weight to the 3 different attributes that you could put in. You're going to wind up allocating these stats onto each drifter. You can choose however you want to allocate them, but something that's not obvious to the new player. So this one here, Umbra, is an agility drifter, right? If you put agility into her, she gets 2.3 agility every time you put a point in. She only gets 1 intelligence when you put an intelligence point in. So if you got 10 points, you can either get 23 agility or you can get 10 intelligence, right? And so that's a common mistake. People will look at it and go, I really like this ability. I'm going to use this on my fire staff. Well, she doesn't stack well with intelligence. So you're going to wind up doing very low damage. And sometimes those combos can be good, but That's an important thing to know before you start unlocking things, because these unlocks slow down. And on our first playtest, a lot of our guys were like, I really want to tank, but I wound up going this thing and I got this weapon and I can't get this chest piece now. So try and plan out what you want to do early on, because they give you a lot of front loaded unlocks and then it slows, right? So make sure that you understand how stat weights work. If you want to tank, you're going to want to choose one of the strength drifters. They don't actually get any damage by adding strength, but they do get HP, immunity control, right? Agility drifters now get physical based damage. So if you're using some sort of melee damage, you want to be a bruiser, you're probably looking at the agility based drifters. And then mages and supports probably want to go the support drifters. There might be some outliers here, but for the most part, that's how that works. And if you're looking at this chart here, wondering like, oh, this is all you can choose from. As the server progresses, it actually does give you more drifters to choose from, but they unlock as you go. And there's more powerful ones later. You choose some at the start and then the server progresses and you just keep choosing as you go and upgrading. Another tip that I have written down here in the middle is a lot of people are asking whether the game is pay to win. From what we can tell, the game has a subscription-based model like Albion that's paid in a premium currency. The subscription for a monthly does look important. There's a lot of really good things on here that you're going to want. Right now, I have no idea why we can't get this or buy this currency. I have no clue, but it's here. Maybe they'll give us a way to get that. I know in the previous playtest, we could earn these solar bites here by doing different things or selling things on the black market. But yeah, I have no clue why this is here without a way for us to pay for it. But as far as pay to win goes, it might be more or less pay to win than Albion. We really can't tell. There are two separate markets. One that uses essentially silver. In this game, it's called Stardust. I think, I can't remember. Something like that, star tokens. And then Solar Bytes is the other market. Solar Bytes is a premium currency. And so we're going to be able to trade directly with premium currency, which technically isn't much different than Albion. So I don't know if it's going to be the exact same level of like, you can buy gear and get an advantage that way. I do know that some of the potions in this game are absolutely busted and you can buy that on the premium currency. So maybe it's worse. I don't know. That's all the information that I have on it. That's pretty much it. So it might be more or less pay to win. We'll have to find out. Next on the list, gathering is important. I have this. Some people were ignoring gathering because it's hard to determine whether it's got usefulness. Gathering is important. Don't ignore it. You upgrade things at your research center. One of them is gathering. Use gathering for potions. You can't really get them in a large quantity without gathering things yourself because you can't trade with each other. So don't ignore gathering. Also, keep up with spending your currency. You're going to get currency to open up solo rifts. You're going to get currency to spawn fire traps. If you don't take care, like if you don't start spending that currency, you're going to wind up like me at the end of the last playtest and be like, I have 300 of these and I didn't use them and they're super worth. So spend your currency as you get it. It is worth getting it so you can get upgrades as you go. So that's probably my next tip is don't ignore gathering, spend your currency as you get it. Okay. Yeah. Next is I mentioned the research center. The research center is where you upgrade different things like your mining speed. At the end of the last playtest, I remember going over with our guild about what was important. And I think we had decided that Exergy mining bot probably would have been the most important thing to level up first. I'm pretty sure that this mining bot tier actually increases the amount of Exergy mining that your mining bot does. And that greatly helps you to get money as well as Exergy, which is important for upgrades. Which also brings me to my next thing is you should try and make sure that you're focusing your primary currency on that, as well as upgrading the drifter tier. Because this, your drift mark tier, dictates what level your drifter can get to. And you have like drifter tier upgrades. This dictates how much stats you can put into your drifter. I hope I'm not information overloading here, but essentially this just makes you stronger. And the reason why you should focus on this early is because upgrading your drift mark starts to take days of time, right? So as you hit the button, it'll go 5 minutes, 4 hours. Suddenly you're looking at 16 hours, 2 days, 4 days time. So you want to try and make sure you're keeping this thing upgrading as you go. If you don't, you're going to wind up going, wow, these guys are drifter level 10. I can only get to drifter level 8. And when you go to look at it, you're a couple days off of even being able to get to that stage, right? So focus on leveling up your drift mark, and it does help to focus your first bit of currency on mining bot as well as upgrading your gathering. That's pretty much it. There's a lot of other useful things in here, but just try to focus on your money-making efforts before you focus on the other things. There's only a couple more tips I have on here. One big one is take note of the scrap post sizes. So what I'm talking about here is on your map, when you go out into the world, trying to get money, gear, drops, a lot of times you're going to be running around doing these scrap posts. And a lot of times when you go to some of the contested areas, there's going to be large groups doing scrap posts. Take note of how many players they're recommended for, because a lot of players wasted probably countless hours of time in the last playtest going from post to post when it was a recommended 3 players, and there's like 45 of them doing the post. You literally get like 0 loot. So when you're with a large group, if you're hitting a large scrap post that's designed for 25 plus players or whatever, fine. But don't waste your time clearing 3-player outposts. It is literally a waste of time. And if you're with 3 players, hit these. They're good for 3 players. Just take note of those. Don't get stuck in a group thinking you're doing some good progress when they're just rotating absolutely tiny objectives for the group size. And you'll know what I'm talking about once you start playing the game. A lot of times large groups roam some of the PvP areas, and I noticed a lot of them just going from small scrap posts to medium scrap posts. And they only had like 45 people and they were getting all 0 rewards. So yeah, decent little tip there, just to spend your time wisely while you're running around. Okay, 2 more tips. One of them is to stay within zones within your level. So as you go through the map, you're going to notice there's like tiers of zones all the way up to tier 11. Some of them get pretty difficult. Once the mobs are 10 levels above your level, they turn red and they're super inefficient for anyone. Like solo, as a group, it's just awful. And the server is capped as you go. It's like Foxhole. I mentioned that earlier. The server progresses over the course of 1 month, right? And so we're all level capped day to day. Next day, you might have 2 extra levels you can get, which will enable you to farm a higher tier zone, but don't go further than that. It's a waste of time. Like if you're 12 levels under the mobs in the zone, don't go to that zone. It just takes way too long. We tried clearing some of those. It took eternity. It just wasn't worth the time. So stay within zones where mobs are like 5 to 8 levels above you, and you'll have a much more efficient farming time. Last on the list is, oh wait, no, I did it out of order. The last one on the list was upgrade your drift mark as fast as possible. Did we miss anything? Did we miss anything? I think that was everything. I did that one out of order. Anyways, guys, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like. Otherwise, I should have some more videos coming out soon for Warborne. We should be playing this entire month. That's the plan. I do know that there are a couple other games launching soon that are trying to get my attention as well. Anyways, that about wraps it up for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you around.